They shut down my project on a Friday afternoon, citing compliance risks. 10 days later, I dragged a folder titled 2.3D Years, Mistake onto the boardroom screen, right in front of the executive team. As the cost chart spiked like an EKG monitor, the head of HR's hand started trembling against her coffee cup. And that was just the first page. My name is Elena Hart, and at 34, I'd learned that being a product architect at Alderline Analytics meant navigating more politics than code. The Rooksford, Michigan office sprawled across 3 floors of glass and exposed brick, the kind of place where synergy got thrown around unironically and standing meetings somehow stretched from 15 minutes to 45. That morning, I arrived at 7:43 a.m., badge swiping through the turnstile with the familiar beep that marked another day in corporate purgatory. My desk sat in the open-plan chaos of the 3rd floor, wedged between the UX team's sticky note shrine and the data engineer's fortress of monitors. The Slack notifications were already cascading down my screen. 17 messages in general about the coffee machine being down. 32 in random debating the best pizza in Rooksford, and 1 ominous red dot on the direct message from Marjorie Pike, our head of HR. I ignored it. Project Lantern needed my attention more than whatever bureaucratic hoop Marjorie wanted me to jump through today. Lantern was my baby, a workforce scheduling and shift risk forecasting tool designed for our retail chain clients. It integrated payroll data, time tracking, and predictive analytics to prevent the scheduling disasters that cost companies millions in overtime and compliance violations. After 8 months of development, we were 2 sprints away from pilot launch with our biggest client, a Midwest grocery chain with 15,000 hourly employees. The beauty of Lantern was its simplicity. Pull in historical scheduling data, layer on sales forecasts and foot traffic patterns, account for local labor laws, and voila! Optimize schedules that kept managers happy and workers from hitting overtime thresholds. The algorithm could even predict when someone might call in sick based on patterns I'd rather not admit we could see. Morning, Elena. Sam Lockett dropped into the chair beside me, clutching his usual Monday morning Red Bull. As our financial analyst, Sam had the thankless job of making sure our products actually made money. Lantern's burn rate looking good. Under budget by 12%, I said, pulling up the dashboard. Though I'm getting pushback on the HR data integration, Sam raised an eyebrow. From who? Take a guess. Marjorie? He shook his head. That woman guards employee data like it's nuclear launch codes. You'd think we were trying to steal state secrets instead of building better schedules. The irony wasn't lost on me. We could access client employee data all day long, but touch our own company's HR information? Suddenly, it was a federal case. By 10 a.m., the daily stand-up had devolved into its usual chaos. Caleb Rourke, our VP of Operations, dominated the screen from his home office. His camera angled to showcase what I suspected was a deliberately placed Harvard MBA diploma. Dorian Klein, the CFO, sat in the conference room picking apart someone's budget projections with surgical precision. Lantern status. Caleb's voice boomed through the speakers. Green across the board, I reported. Final integration tests this week. The pilot client's ready to go live November 1st. What about the compliance review? This from Marjorie, who'd materialized in the conference room doorway like a bad omen. Her navy pantsuit was pressed to military precision, her smile sharp enough to cut glass. What compliance review? I kept my voice neutral, though my fingers tightened on my coffee mug. Oh, didn't you get my message? We need to audit any system touching employee classification data. New SOC 2 requirements. She slid into a chair with practiced ease. I'm sure it's just a formality. The way she said formality made my stomach clench. In my experience, HR formalities were anything but. After the meeting, I finally opened Marjorie's message. 3 paragraphs of corporate speak that boiled down to, stop what you're doing until we say otherwise. The timestamp showed 6:47 a.m. She'd been planning this ambush before I'd even gotten out of bed. I found Sam in the kitchen, making his 3rd Red Bull run of the day. Hey, Question for you. Did HR recently switch benefits vendors? He frowned. Yeah, actually. Clairvale Benefits. Marjorie handled the whole transition. Why? Just curious. The timing seems interesting. Everything's interesting with Marjorie involved. He lowered his voice. Between you and me, she's been weird about the books lately. Kept asking about benefit accrual adjustments. I filed that information away. A small piece of a puzzle I didn't yet know I was solving. Outside the kitchen windows, Rooksford's skyline stretched gray and unremarkable under the October clouds. Somewhere in this building, decisions were being made about my project, my work, my future. And I was beginning to suspect they had nothing to do with compliance. The coffee machine sputtered back to life with a grinding whir. At least something in this office was working properly. The email arrived at 4:58 p.m. on Friday, October 13th, 2 minutes before I would have been out the door, heading home to a weekend of blessed disconnection from Alderline's corporate theater. Subject, urgent, Project Lantern, temporary suspension. From Marjorie Pike, Head of Human Resources. CC, Caleb Rourke, Dorian Klein. Legal Team. Effective immediately. Project Lantern is suspended, pending compliance review. Access to staging environments and payroll integration APIs will be revoked at 5:30 p.m. today. Please ensure all work is committed and documented before access termination. I read it 3 times, my pulse hammering against my throat. 8 months of work, 2 weeks from launch. And they were pulling the plug with a Friday afternoon email. My fingers flew across the keyboard, firing off a response. We need to discuss this. The client launch is November 1st. What specific compliance issues? The reply came instantly. Marjorie had been waiting. Conference room 12B, now. I grabbed my laptop, my hands steady despite the rage building in my chest. The elevator ride to the executive floor felt like descending into a courtroom where I was both defendant and prosecutor. Marjorie sat at the head of the polished conference table, flanked by someone from legal I'd never seen before, and Caleb joining via video. She'd arranged herself like a general preparing for battle, leather portfolio open, Mont Blanc pen poised, expression carved from corporate marble. Elena, thank you for coming. Her tone suggested I'd had a choice. We've identified several concerns with Lantern's data handling. What concerns? I kept my voice level, professional. Don't give her ammunition. SOC2 compliance, HIPAA considerations, employee data classification protocols. She rattled off the acronyms like a grocery list. The potential liability exposure is significant. Lantern doesn't touch health data. We're nowhere near HIPAA territory. But it accesses benefits enrollment status, which could be used to infer health information. I stared at her. That's like saying we can't look at vacation days because someone might be getting surgery. The legal rep shifted uncomfortably. Caleb's face remained frozen on screen, buffering or deliberately neutral. I couldn't tell. The decision's been made. Marjorie continued. Your sprints are frozen. The staging environment will be locked. We're also revoking access to certain payroll tables. Certain tables? Which ones? Benefits deduction streams, employee classification codes, retroactive adjustment logs. The list was surgical in its precision. These weren't random compliance concerns. She'd specifically targeted the exact integration points that made Lantern valuable. This will kill the project, I said flatly. The client won't wait. I'm sure they'll understand the importance of compliance. Marjorie's smile could have frozen hell. We've actually just renewed our own benefits administration with Clairvale. Perhaps you could pivot Lantern to support their integration instead? There it was. The real reason crystallized like ice forming on glass. This wasn't about compliance or SOC2 or any other alphabet soup regulation. Marjorie had made a deal, and Lantern was in the way. How long is this suspension? Indefinite, until all concerns are addressed. And who determines when they're addressed? I do. The room went quiet except for the hum of the ventilation system. Caleb's image finally unfroze, his mouth opening as if to speak, then closing again. Coward. I closed my laptop slowly, deliberately. I'll need this in writing. The specific compliance failures, the review criteria, the timeline for resolution. Of course, HR will send documentation Monday. Monday. After a full weekend of locked systems and no ability to protect my code, I want it tonight. Marjorie's eye twitched, the first crack in her facade. That's not possible. Then neither is the suspension. I'll continue working until I have formal documentation of specific violations. Your access is being revoked at 5:30. She glanced at her watch. That's in 12 minutes. Then you have 12 minutes to get me that documentation. We stared at each other across the expanse of polished wood and corporate politics. The legal rep looked like he wanted to evaporate. Caleb had conveniently frozen again. Fine, Marjorie said finally. You'll have something within the hour. I stood, gathering my laptop. I'll be at my desk, documenting everything I can in the 11 minutes I have left. Elena. Her voice stopped me at the door. I hope you understand this is for the company's best interest. Funny, I said, not turning around. People always say that right before they screw someone over. Back at my desk, I had 9 minutes. I downloaded every piece of documentation I legally could. Architecture diagrams, sprint reports, client correspondence. My personal project notes, thank God, were on my local drive. At 5:29, I committed my last chunk of code with a commit message. Final commit before compliance review suspension, ERH. At 5:30, exactly. My screen flashed. Access denied. The email from HR arrived at 6:47 p.m., long after everyone had gone home. It was 2 pages of circular logic and undefined terms. No specific violations, no clear resolution path. Just corporate word salad designed to buy time. I sat in my car in the empty parking garage, reading it by the dome light. Somewhere in this building, Marjorie was probably updating her resume with successfully managed vendor transition resulting in X savings. She had no idea what she'd just started. Saturday morning, 5:47 a.m. I sat at my home office desk with 3 monitors glowing in the pre-dawn darkness, parsing through the last accessible logs from Lantern's integration layer. Coffee number 4 sat cooling beside a legal pad filled with timestamps and transaction IDs. The pattern emerged slowly, like a photograph developing in reverse. Our payroll integration had captured something interesting in the weeks before my access was cut. Duplicate benefit deduction streams running parallel for 124 employees marked as exempt in the system. The same people, the same deductions, hitting twice in different batch processes. I pulled up the Git history from my local clone. There, September 15th. A configuration change in the benefits mapping table. Updated by M. Pike admin. The timestamp, 2:33 a.m. Who makes benefits adjustments at 2:33 in the morning unless they're trying to hide something? My phone buzzed. Sam Lockett. You awake? His text read. Unfortunately. You? Can't sleep. Been thinking about that benefits thing. Check your personal email. I switched to Gmail. Sam had sent a spreadsheet, not company property. He was careful to note, but public financial data from quarterly reports. One column stood out. Benefits, retro AGI. The number had jumped 340% from Q2 to Q3. Where did you get this? I typed back. It's in the investor packet, public record. But here's the interesting part. I cross-referenced with headcount. We didn't add that many people. I pulled up Alderline's investor relations page, downloaded the same packet. Sam was right. The numbers didn't add up unless someone was paying benefits twice. I grabbed my calculator, started working the math. Average benefits cost per exempt employee, $1,850, monthly, 124 employees, 3/4 of double payments. The number made my stomach turn. $687,600 in duplicate premiums alone. But that was just the start. I remembered something from a compliance training. Misclassifying employees as exempt when they should be non-exempt meant owing back overtime. I pulled up Michigan labor law. The penalty period, 3 years retroactive. My fingers flew across the keyboard, building a model. If even half those 124 employees were misclassified, at an average of 5 hours weekly overtime, they should have received another $450,000 minimum, plus interest. Then the 401k implications hit me. Employer matching on compensation that wasn't properly calculated. The correction would require not just the match, but earnings on those amounts. Another $650,000, conservatively. Add ERISA penalties, COBRA notification failures, state insurance commission fines. The blood drained from my face as the total crystallized approximately $2.3 million. I screenshot everything, every log entry, every timestamp, every calculation, created a folder on my personal drive, documentation, chart timeline, each file named with date and timestamps, building an unbreakable chain of custody. At 9 a.m., I called Sam from my personal cell. Can you check something without raising flags? Depends what it is. The subledger for benefits clearing, any unusual credit balances? A pause. Keyboard clicking. Holy shit, there's a $1.4 million credit sitting in clearing that doesn't match the liability account. Since when? September. Right after the Clairvale conversion. More clicking. Elena, there's a journal entry here moving amounts to Operations MISC. The approver? It's Marjorie. She's burying it. Burying what? A $2.3 million mistake. They botched the benefits conversion, set up duplicate deduction streams, and probably misclassified a bunch of employees in the process. Now they're trying to hide it in operating expenses. Sam whistled low. That's securities fraud if we're publicly traded. We're not public yet, but we're supposed to IPO next year. The due diligence will find this. Not if they can blame it on a rogue product architect who was building unauthorized integrations with payroll data. The silence stretched between us. Finally, Sam said, "You need a lawyer." I need evidence they can't destroy first. I spent the rest of the weekend building my case. Every piece of public data, every accessible log, every screenshot timestamped and backed up to 3 different personal drives. I created visualizations showing the flow of money, the timing of changes, the pattern of cover-up attempts. By Sunday night, I had a 47-page document titled Benefits Administration Discrepancies, Timeline, and Financial Impact. Every claim supported by evidence, every number traceable to source documents. Monday morning, I walked into Alderline with a USB drive in my pocket and a single question burning in my mind. How do you fight HR when they control all the official channels? The answer came at 10:15 a.m. when Marjorie sent a company-wide email announcing enhanced security protocols for financial data access. Effective immediately. Retroactive auditing of all employee access logs for the past 90 days. She was closing the walls around me, erasing the trail, but she'd made one mistake. She taught me exactly where the bodies were buried. I opened my personal laptop at lunch, connected through my phone's hotspot, and started composing an email to the one person Marjorie couldn't control, Dorian Klein, our CFO. The subject line, Urgent Potential 2.3 Bodies Financial Reporting Discrepancy. My finger hovered over send. Once this went out, there was no going back. Marjorie would know it was me. The retaliation would be swift and brutal. A new email popped up in my work inbox from HR. Subject, Performance Improvement Plan, Elena Hart. She'd fired the first shot. I hit send. The Performance Improvement Plan was a masterpiece of corporate assassination. 30 days to show improved collaboration with stakeholders and alignment with company compliance standards. Metrics so vague they could mean anything Marjorie wanted them to mean. I sat in the fishbowl conference room while she read it aloud, her voice smooth as poisoned honey. Caleb sat beside her, studying his phone like it contained the meaning of life. "This is retaliation," I said when she finished. "This is documentation of ongoing performance issues." She slid the signature page across the table. You've been resistant to feedback about Lantern's scope creep. You mean resistant to killing my project to cover your mistake. Her smile didn't waver. I don't know what you're implying, but making baseless accusations won't help your situation. They're not baseless. You have unauthorized copies of company data, which is a violation of our information security policy. She tapped another document. It flagged unusual download activity from your workstation Friday evening. The trap was elegant. Defend myself with evidence I'd gathered, and she'd fire me for data theft. Stay silent, and the PIP would paper trail my termination in 30 days. I need time to review this with legal counsel. That's your right. But the PIP goes into effect immediately, including restricted system access. She pulled out another form. Your Git permissions have been revoked. You'll need management approval for any code commits. I can't do my job without repository access. Then I suggest you focus on improving collaboration rather than coding. After the meeting, I found my desk neighbor packing his things, carefully not making eye contact. The word had spread. I was radioactive. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. Elena Hart, this is Nora Wild. I'm an employment attorney. A mutual friend suggested you might need representation. Sam, God bless paranoid financial analysts. We met at a coffee shop 3 blocks from the office. Nora was younger than I'd expected, with sharp eyes behind designer glasses and a legal pad that never left her hand. PIPs are usually precursors to termination, she said after I'd explained everything. But this one's sloppy. The timing alone suggests retaliation. Can we fight it? We could, but litigation takes years. By then, the damage is done. To your career, your finances, your mental health. She studied me. What do you really want? I want them to know they can't bury a $2.3 million mistake by burying me. The CFO email, did you get a response? An auto reply. He's at a conference until Thursday. And the whistleblower hotline? I laughed bitterly. Reported it Wednesday. Thursday, I'm on a PI. You do the math. Nora tapped her pen against the pad. The hotline reports go to legal and HR. If Marjorie's controlling both narratives, then I'm screwed. Not necessarily. You said there's an IPO planned? Next year. Then there's a board of directors, investment committee, audit committee. She smiled. Channels Marjorie can't control. I can't contact board members. That would definitely violate company policy. But you could present information in a forum where they're present, like an all-hands meeting. I stared at her. That's insane. It's aggressive. There's a difference. She pulled out her tablet. Michigan's whistleblower protection laws are clear. If you're reporting financial misconduct in good faith, retaliation is illegal. The key is making your report impossible to ignore or bury. That night, I sat with my laptop, building something new. Not code this time, a presentation. Clean. Simple slides that told the story in numbers and flowcharts. No accusations, no emotion, just data. Slide 1. Project Lantern, Risk Detection Case Study. Slide 2. A timeline of benefits configuration changes. Slide 3. The parallel deduction streams, visualize. Slide 4. The financial impact, broken down by category. Slide 5. The remediation plan I would have recommended if anyone had asked Sam texted at midnight. Heard about the PIP. This is bullshit. It's fine. I have a plan. Does it involve burning the building down? Because I know a guy. Despite everything, I smiled. Something like that. Can you get me on the all-hands agenda Thursday? Elena, that's career suicide. My career's already dead. Marjorie just hasn't finished filling out the paperwork. A long pause. There's a slot for project updates. Caleb usually rubber stamps the agenda. I could slip you in. 12 minutes, that's all I need. You're really going to do this? I looked at my slides, at the $2.3 million mistake laid out in undeniable detail. She left me no choice. For what it's worth, Sam wrote, the benefits clearing account grew another $200K this week. Whatever this is, it's getting worse. Thursday was 3 days away. 3 days to refine my presentation, gather any last pieces of evidence, and prepare for the nuclear option. 3 days before I either saved my career or destroyed it completely. I closed my laptop and stared at the ceiling. Somewhere across town, Marjorie was probably sleeping soundly, confident she'd neutralized the threat. She had no idea what was coming. Tuesday night, I sat in my home office surrounded by 3 monitors displaying what I called the data room, a read-only repository of truth that would either save me or damn me completely. The architecture was simple but bulletproof, using only publicly available internal data, quarterly reports, org charts, published KPIs. I'd rebuilt Lantern's detection algorithm offline, no proprietary code, no stolen databases, just math and logic applied to numbers anyone at Alderline could access if they knew where to look. The beauty was in what it revealed when you fed it the right inputs. I pulled up the benefits enrollment summary from the company intranet, a document HR published monthly for transparency, cross-referenced it with the headcount reports from operations. The discrepancy jumped off the screen. 124 employees classified as exempt in one system, non-exempt in another. The classification flip-flopped depending on which report you pulled. My phone buzzed. Sam again. Found something. Check the audit trail on the benefits master file. Use the archive portal. They forgot to restrict it. I navigated to the archive system, a dusty corner of our infrastructure that IT barely maintained. There it was, every change to the benefits configuration, time-stamped and attributed. Marjorie Pike's digital fingerprints were everywhere. Manual overrides, after-hours adjustments. And most damning, a batch delete of error logs on September 16th at 3:47 a.m. You don't delete error logs unless you're hiding something. I added it to the data room, organizing everything into a story anyone could follow. Chapter 1. The Setup. Clairvale Benefits Contract signed August 30th. Implementation rushed to meet Q3 deadline. Chapter 2. The Mistake. Duplicate benefit streams created September 15th during manual data migration. Employee classifications corrupted. Chapter 3. The Cover-Up. Error logs deleted, corrections routed through operations accounts, audit trails obscured. Chapter 4. The Cost, $2.3 million, and climbing. The final piece came from an unexpected source. The anonymous message appeared in my personal email at 11 p.m. Check the board packet for Thursday's meeting, page 47, compared to page 63. No signature, but I recognized the writing style. Someone in legal had grown a conscience. I downloaded the board packet from the investor relations site. Page 47, benefits expense projection for Q4. Page 63, actual benefits liability from the controller's report. The gap? $2.1 million Zuris, hidden in footnotes and actuarial adjustments. They were planning to bury it in the IPO filing, spread the write-off across multiple quarters, blame it on system modernization costs. Classic financial engineering. I updated my presentation. The new title, Risk Detection Success Story. How Project Lantern identified 2.3 million in financial discrepancies. Not an accusation. A victory lap for a system that worked exactly as designed. Wednesday morning. I arrived early to test the conference room setup. The main screen could mirror my laptop, perfect for ensuring everyone saw the data clearly. I ran through the presentation 3 times, timing each slide transition. At 10 a.m., Marjorie appeared in my cubicle. I heard you're presenting at tomorrow's all hands. Project update. Caleb approved it. What project? Lantern is suspended. The agenda says project updates. It doesn't specify which project. Her jaw tightened. Elena, I'm trying to help you here. This PIP is an opportunity to reset. Don't throw your career away over a misunderstanding. Misunderstanding? Is that what we're calling a $2.3 million error now? She leaned in close, her voice dropping to a whisper. You have no idea what you're interfering with. This goes beyond some data discrepancies. Then explain it to me. The Clairvale deal includes a 3-year commitment. Breaking it would cost more than any supposed error. Sometimes the smart move is accepting a small loss to prevent a larger one. Securities fraud isn't a small loss. Neither is unemployment. She straightened. Last chance, Elena. Cancel your presentation. No. She nodded slowly. Then I'll see you tomorrow. After she left, I found a USB drive on my desk. No label, but I recognized Sam's handwriting on a post-it. Insurance policy. I plugged it into my personal laptop. Screenshots of journal entries, email threads between Marjorie and Clairvale. A PDF titled Benefits Conversion Issues Confidential. Sam had been building his own case file. The final email thread was explosive. Marjorie promising Clairvale a 5-year extension if they helped manage the conversion discrepancies. Caleb signing off with whatever it takes to make Q3 numbers. They weren't just hiding a mistake, they were compounding it with kickbacks and contract manipulation. I added it all to the data room, then created 3 identical copies. One on a cloud service, one on a USB drive I'd give to Nora, and one embedded in my presentation as hidden slides, viewable by anyone who downloaded the file later. Thursday morning arrived gray and drizzling. I dressed carefully, my best suit, the one I'd worn to my interview 4 years ago. If this was my last day at Alderline, I'd leave looking professional. The all-hands was scheduled for 2 p.m. The board would be attending virtually. Their faces displayed on the side screens. The entire company would be watching. I opened my laptop and loaded the presentation. The first slide appeared on my screen. HR shut down my project. I exposed their 2.3 meters blunder. In 12 minutes, everything would change. The conference room filled quickly, 200 employees in person, another 100 joining virtually. The board members' faces appeared on the side screens, 5 rectangles of pixelated judgment. Dorian Klein sat in the front row, having returned from his conference that morning. Caleb stood at the podium, working through the agenda with practiced monotony. Next, we have a project update from Elena Hart. I walked to the front, laptop in hand. The HDMI cable clicked into place with a satisfying snap. The screen behind me flashed to life. HR shut down my project. I exposed their 2.3-meter blunder. The room went silent. Marjorie, seated near the exit, half rose from her chair. 12 minutes, I said calmly. That's all I need to show you how Project Lantern works. I clicked to the next slide. A clean visualization of Lantern's architecture appeared. Lantern was designed to detect scheduling and payroll anomalies. It works by comparing multiple data streams to identify discrepancies. Click. On September 15th, it detected something interesting. The graph appeared, 2 parallel lines representing benefit deductions for the same 124 employees. The lines should have been 1. Instead, they diverged like a snake's tongue. Duplicate benefit streams. The same employees charged twice for health insurance, life insurance, disability. I toggled a filter. The graph spiked violently upward. $687,600 in 3 quarters. Marjorie stood fully now. This is inappropriate for... But that's not all Lantern found. I clicked again. The next visualization showed employee classifications flipping between exempt and non-exempt. Misclassification errors affecting overtime calculations. Conservative estimate $450,000 in back wages owed. The CFO leaned forward, pulling out his phone. I saw him opening calculator apps, his fingers flying. Next slide. 401k, matching errors due to incorrect compensation calculations. $650,000, including required earnings. Click. ERISA penalties, COBRA notification failures, state insurance fines, another $150,000. The final slide was simple, just a number, $2,337,600. This is the amount currently at risk due to what HR calls compliance issues with my project. Marjorie's voice cut through the silence. These are baseless accusations using stolen data. Everything I've shown uses publicly available internal reports. I clicked to the appendix slides. Page references for every number. All from documents any employee can access on our intranet. I pulled up the audit trail. Here's when the errors were introduced. Marjorie Pike's user ID appeared next to timestamp after timestamp. And here's when someone tried to hide them. The deleted error logs, the journal entries moving money to operations accounts, the pattern of cover-up laid bare. This is a violation of your PIP terms, Marjorie said, her voice rising. You're terminated immediately. Actually, Dorian Klein stood, his voice cutting through hers like a blade. I'd like to see more. I clicked to the hidden slides. Sam's evidence. The email threads appeared on screen. Marjorie's promises to Clairvale in black and white. Is this real? Dorian asked, looking directly at Marjorie. Her face had gone pale. That's taken out of context. The context seems pretty clear. One of the board members leaned into his camera. Ms. Pike, did you promise a contract extension in exchange for help managing conversion errors? Caleb tried to interject. This is something we should discuss offline. No, Dorian said firmly. We're discussing it now. He turned to me. Ms. Hart, can you send this data to the board? Already done. I clicked one more time. A QR code appeared on screen. Anyone can access the full data room by scanning this code, read only, but completely transparent. Phones appeared throughout the room like flowers blooming. The QR code was scanned dozens of times in seconds. Marjorie's assistant was typing furiously on her laptop. Marjorie, the benefits clearing account, it's all here, every transaction. The board member spoke again. Mr. Klein, I move for an immediate suspension of all benefits administration pending external audit. Seconded, another board member said. Dorian nodded. Ms. Pike, please remain available. Security will escort you to collect your things. 2 security guards appeared at the door, not dramatically, just following protocol. They'd probably been watching on their monitors, waiting for the signal. Marjorie looked at me, her composure finally cracking. You have no idea what you've done. The Clairvale contract will be reviewed by legal. Dorian interrupted, along with every transaction you've authorized in the last year. She gathered her things with shaking hands. The room watched in silence as she walked to the exit, her heels clicking against the floor like a countdown timer reaching 0. I started to pack up my laptop, assuming I'd be next. Ms. Hart, Dorian said. Leave it up. We need to go through this line by line. My PIP is void. He pulled out his phone, typing quickly. HR reports to me until further notice. Your project is reinstated, effective immediately. The room erupted in whispers. I stood there, suddenly unsure what to do with my hands. One question, a board member said. Why didn't you report this through proper channels? I clicked back to one of my slides, a screenshot of my whistleblower complaint, dated 6 days ago. Next to it, the PIP notice, dated 1 day later. I tried. The board member nodded slowly. I see. Caleb cleared his throat. Should we continue with the agenda? No, Dorian said. Meeting adjourned, department heads, stay behind. We have a lot to discuss. The aftermath moved with corporate efficiency. Within an hour, Dorian had assembled a crisis team in the boardroom. I sat at the table where just days ago, Marjorie had handed me the PIP, except now I was explaining remediation steps to the CFO and board members. First priority is stopping the bleeding, Dorian said, his fingers flying across his laptop. I'm freezing all benefit deductions effective immediately until we can verify correct amounts. I can provide a clean employee list with correct classifications, I offered, pulling up my offline Lantern data. It'll take payroll maybe 3 hours to implement. Do it. He turned to the head of legal, who'd materialized from wherever lawyers hide during disasters. What's our exposure? If we self-report to the Department of Labor within 30 days, we can minimize penalties. The IRS will want their cut for the 401k issues, but voluntary correction is better than an audit finding. A knock at the door. Sam entered, looking nervous but determined. The Clairvale contract. I found something. Dorian waved him in. What kind of something? There's a termination clause, Section 47B. If the vendor fails to properly implement conversion resulting in financial losses exceeding $1 million, we can exit without penalty and seek damages. The room went quiet. Dorian pulled up the contract on the main screen, scrolling to the section Sam indicated. There it was, buried in legal language, but clear enough. Clairvale was liable for their implementation errors. They'll fight it, legal warned. Let them. Dorian said. We have Elena's data showing their configuration mistakes. Sam, can you quantify what they owe us? Sam was already calculating. If we can prove their errors caused the duplicate streams, we could recover at least $1.2 million, maybe more with consequential damages. The board member on screen leaned forward. Ms. Hart, what would it take to get Lantern fully operational? 2 weeks to restore access and complete testing, another week for the client pilot. You have whatever resources you need. He paused. I'm also recommending you for the quarterly innovation bonus. Your system worked exactly as designed. It caught a massive error that human review missed. Caleb, who'd been silent until now, cleared his throat. About Marjorie's position. Gone, Dorian said flatly. Security is with her now. We'll also be reviewing her assistant and anyone else who signed off on these journal entries. The PIP she issued. Caleb started. Never happened. Dorian looked at me. HR will send formal documentation withdrawing all performance actions. Your personnel file will show nothing but commendations. And my back pay? I asked, feeling bold. The quarterly bonus was withheld pending the PIP resolution. Paid tomorrow with interest, he made a note, plus compensation for any legal fees you've incurred. My phone buzzed. Nora Wild. Watching the stock ticker, news travels fast, call me later. The meeting continued for another hour, walking through each remediation step. When we finally broke, the office felt different. People made eye contact with me again. Some nodded, others offered tight smiles of respect or relief. At my desk, I found my Git access restored and a bottle of champagne from Sam with a note. To the woman who brought down an empire with a spreadsheet. But the real satisfaction came from an unexpected source. Around 6 p.m., as I was finally packing up to leave, an email appeared from an address I didn't recognize. Ms. Hart, I'm Jennifer Chen, a benefits administrator at Clairvale. I've been flagging these implementation errors for months, but my management ignored me. Thank you for making it impossible to ignore. If you need testimony about their negligence, I have documentation. I forwarded it to Dorian immediately. By 7 p.m., the executive floor was mostly empty except for legal, still working through the implications. I passed the HR department on my way out. Marjorie's office was dark, her nameplate already removed. A facilities worker was boxing up her things under security supervision. Her former assistant, caught me in the hallway. Elena, I'm sorry. I knew something was wrong, but she said it was above my pay grade to question it. Did you know about the deletions? She nodded miserably. She made me stay late to help, said it was routine maintenance. You'll probably need to talk to legal. Already did. They offered me immunity for cooperation. She paused. For what it's worth, we all knew Lantern was solid. She was just scared it would expose her incompetence. It did more than that. Outside, the October evening was crisp and clear. My phone had been buzzing with messages from colleagues, some congratulating, others asking for details. I ignored them all except one. Dorian. Board approved. You're promoted to Senior Product Architect, reporting directly to me until we hire a new VP. Announcement Monday. I sat in my car for a moment, letting it sink in. This morning I'd walked in expecting to be unemployed by end of day. Instead, Marjorie was gone. Her $2.3 million mistake exposed, and my project, my career, saved. The parking garage security camera caught me smiling as I drove past. Probably the first genuine smile in that place all week. The glass door to the conference room reflected Marjorie's face as security waited for her to gather her belongings. Her hands trembled as she placed her company badge on the table. The metallic click echoed in the silence like a period at the end of a very long sentence. I watched from across the floor, not out of spite, but because I needed to see this end. Needed to witness the moment when years of unchecked power finally met accountability. Ms. Pike, the security guard said quietly. We need to go now. She stood, her designer heels catching slightly on the carpet. For a moment, our eyes met through the glass. No words, no dramatic confrontation, just the weight of consequences finally coming due. The elevator doors opened with their familiar chime. She stepped inside, still clutching her box of personal items. As the doors began to close, I saw her reflection in the polished steel, smaller somehow, diminished. The executive floor's LED display continued its cycle. Alderline Analytics, integrity in data. My laptop screen still showed the presentation's final slide. The numbers hadn't changed, $2,337,600, but their meaning had. What started as a weapon of corporate destruction had become something else, proof that systems work when people have the courage to use them. An email notification popped up. Subject line, Project Lantern, client implementation approved. The grocery chain client had heard about the all-hands presentation through the business grapevine. Instead of running from the controversy, they were impressed. A company that could catch its own $2.3 million error was exactly the kind of partner they wanted. They'd approved an expanded contract. 3 years, 15 locations, double the original scope. I pulled up Lantern's dashboard for the first time in a week. The familiar interface welcomed me back like an old friend. Lines of code waiting to be written. Problems waiting to be solved. Value waiting to be delivered. This was what I'd fought for, not revenge, but the right to do the work I was hired to do. Sam appeared at my desk with 2 cups of coffee. So, Senior Product Architect, what's your first move? Finishing what we started, Lantern goes live November 1st, as promised. And Marjorie's mess? That's Dorian's problem now. I've got a product to ship. He raised his coffee cup in a mock toast. To exposing blunders and shipping products. To doing the job right the first time. The office was filling up again, the usual rhythm returning. Developers arguing about frameworks, salespeople celebrating closes. The coffee machine's eternal struggle to keep up with demand. But something had shifted. People were asking more questions, documenting more carefully, pushing back on questionable decisions. Marjorie's departure had broken some invisible barrier between compliance and common sense. My final email of the day went to Nora Wild. Crisis resolved. They promoted me instead of firing me. Thank you for the backbone when I needed it. Her response was immediate. Keep my number. In my experience, people who expose one $2.3 million mistake usually find others. It's a gift and a curse. As I packed up to leave, really leave this time, not in defeat, but in victory. I looked at the empty HR office one last time. By Monday, someone new would sit there. Someone who, hopefully, understood that hiding problems only makes them multiply. Like interest on a debt you refuse to acknowledge. The security guard who'd escorted Marjorie out nodded to me as I passed. Hell of a presentation today, Ms. Hart. Just doing my job. No, he said. That was more than that. That was doing the right thing. Outside, the October sun was setting over Rooksford, painting the sky in shades of amber and gold. My phone showed 17 missed calls from recruiters who'd somehow already heard about today's events. I deleted them all. I had a project to finish, a product to launch, a wrong to make right. The presentation file still sat on my desktop. I renamed it one last time, how Lantern saved start 2.3 million. PTA sex. Then I added one final slide, one that would never be presented but needed to be written. Lantern will do what it was born to do: prevent costly mistakes. The same words I'd said in that boardroom, but now they carried new weight, because sometimes the most expensive mistakes aren't in the code or the calculations. They're in the cover-ups, the politics, the desperate attempts to hide what should have been fixed. I closed my laptop and walked to my car, leaving Alderline Analytics better than I'd found it. Behind me, the building's lights flickered on against the darkening sky, and somewhere in that maze of glass and ambition, Lantern hummed quietly to life, watching, calculating, protecting, ready to catch the next $2.3 million mistake before it could be buried. Thank you so much for listening to this story of corporate revenge and vindication. I'd love to know where you're listening from. Drop a comment below and let's connect. If you enjoyed Elena's journey of exposing the truth against all odds, please subscribe to the channel and share your own thoughts or similar experiences you've witnessed in the corporate world. Your stories and perspectives make this community amazing. Until next time, keep standing up for what's right.